In the deep center of the Zalari Empire, life moved slowly and with great pride. Their cities floated on crystal platforms above glowing oceans, their towers reaching for the stars like silver spears. For hundreds of years, they had ruled a large part of the galaxy. Their enemies had fallen, their allies had bowed, and their people believed they were safe forever. First Marshal Varric stood in the High Command Hall on Zalari Prime. His armor was polished, his metals shining. Around him, the other leaders of the Empire laughed and spoke with confidence. Varric listened to a junior officer read a new report. It spoke of strange signals near the outer rim. Ships had gone missing. A few scouts reported a large vessel. Silent and dark, watching from the shadows of asteroid belts. Varric raised a hand and the room fell quiet. "And they say it is human?" he asked. The officer looked nervous. "Yes, sir. The report suggests it is of human origin." Laughter filled the room. One of the ministers, old and proud, leaned back in his chair. "Humans? They left the galaxy ages ago. Their stories are only told to scare children." "Legends," said another. "Tales of ships that could burn stars." "Silly, isn't it?" Varric didn't laugh. He had read the old records. He had seen the few images that still existed. Grainy pictures of ships larger than cities, of planets broken in two, of a voice that once warned the galaxy not to test Earth's fire. But that was long ago. Too long. "Let them watch," Varric said. "At last, we do not fear ghosts." Far from Zalari space, a ship moved through the dark with quiet purpose. Its name was Resolute Horizon, and it had not been seen in over 200 years. Its black hull drank in the starlight. No signal came from it, no light. But inside, the ship was very much alive. Commander Nathan Cole walked the main deck slowly, watching his crew work. The deck was wide and open, filled with displays that showed nearby systems, energy levels, and fleet movement. The crew was small but trained. Each one knew their role. Each one knew the mission. "Update," Cole said. Lieutenant Jason Brooks turned from his station. "Zalari fleets continue to take neutral zones. 3 more systems have fallen. They've begun enslaving the populations." Cole nodded. "And the Council?" "Still laughing at our warnings," said a voice behind him. Ambassador Lillian Price stepped forward. She wore a simple navy jacket, the symbol of the Earth Accord on her shoulder. "They think we're extinct, mate. They think we're a fairy tale. They won't think that for long," Cole replied. In the engineering bay, Carla Monroe wiped oil from her hands. The ship's core gave a low hum. The old systems were running smooth. Around her, machines moved like clockwork. The Resolute Horizon was old, but it had been built to last. More than that, it had been built to remind the galaxy that peace had a protector. "Status, Carla?" came Cole's voice over comms. "All systems green," she answered. "Power core stable. Cloak field holding. Weapons ready, though I still say we show too much mercy." Cole smiled. "Not yet. We give them a chance to listen." Lillian stood beside him now. "And if they don't?" Cole looked out at the stars. "Then we remind them why the legends were made." Back on the edge of Zalari space, in a small station near the trade routes, a merchant watched his screen with wide eyes. A ship had just entered the system. It moved fast, but its shape was clear. Sharp lines, massive engines, a black hull with markings that pulsed red. "No transponder," said the station AI, "unknown origin." The merchant sent a message to the nearest patrol. "Unidentified ship spotted. Might be human." The patrol didn't believe him. They laughed, but they sent a drone to check. The drone never returned. Back in the High Command Hall, the first report came in. Then another. And another. Ships going dark. Colonies losing contact. Miners whispering about a silent hunter in the void. Varric stood at the edge of the map. He stared at a blinking red dot. One ship alone, moving closer to the heart of the Empire. "You still think it's a ghost?" asked the intelligence chief. Varric said nothing. He just watched, his hand resting on the table. In deep space, the Resolute Horizon turned toward the next system. Its engines flared for a moment, then faded into silence. Cole sat in the command chair. Around him, the stars moved slowly. "We gave them every warning," he said softly, and the ship moved forward. The station floated near a dying star, its metal frame rusted and its lights flickering. It was a forgotten place, once used for trade, now mostly silent. Only a few ships came and went. One of them carried Ambassador Lillian Price. She stepped out of the shuttle, her boots echoing on the cold floor. Her breath fogged slightly in the stale air. Around her, old signs blinked in different languages. The Zalari envoy was already waiting. He was tall, proud, and dressed in fine robes. His guards stood behind him, hands on weapons. "Ambassador Price," he said with a cold smile. "Come to share another story?" Lillian smiled gently. "A warning. Humans are good at stories, legends, myths of great power. But we live in the present, not in bedtime tales. Legends are born from truth," she said, "and truth has returned." The Zalari envoy laughed. "We are not afraid of shadows." Back on the Resolute Horizon, Commander Cole listened to the recording of the meeting. He sat with his officers in the command room. The walls showed maps of the galaxy, images of Zalari patrols, and silent systems lost to fear. "They're not listening," Brooks said, shaking his head. "We give them every chance." "They don't believe in us," said Dana Lee, the ship's historian. "And that may be their greatest mistake." Cole turned to her. "Tell them." Dana touched a small panel. A blue glow lit the room. A hologram of a younger Earth filled the space. Battles in the stars, great cities rising and falling, and ships like the Resolute Horizon taking shape. Hundreds of years ago, humanity grew. Fast, we learned, we built, and we fought. But we also saw where that path led. So we stepped back. We vanished into the quiet. We left behind warnings and stories, not to scare, but to guide. We built this ship, Carla added, her voice firm, not to conquer, but to protect. Cole nodded. And now it's time to protect. Again, outside, the stars moved. The ship was traveling near light speed, its systems silent to all sensors. It was a ghost, but a ghost with purpose. On a distant mining world, a Zalari captain stood over prisoners. The miners were small, weak, not built for war. But they had something the Zalari wanted, a rare element. The captain ordered the guards to take more, push harder. Then the sky lit up. From nowhere, the Resolute Horizon appeared. One moment, nothing. The next, a shadow stretching across the sky. Its cannons didn't fire. It didn't need to. It hovered. Watching. The Zalari ships tried to respond, but their systems froze. Their scans failed. One pilot shouted that it wasn't real. Just a trick. Then the warship turned. A single shot lit the air. A Zalari cruiser vanished in an instant. No fire, no explosion. Just silence. The rest fled. The miners looked up at the black ship. Some knelt. Others simply wept. Back aboard, Cole stood quietly. Lillian joined him, her eyes on the display. "You think they'll understand now?" "No," Cole said. "But others will. The ones who were afraid. The ones who remember the stories. They will find hope." Dana walked in, holding a small box. Inside was an old Earth flag. Faded, worn, but still there. "We don't bring war," she said. "We bring memory." Across the galaxy, people began whispering. A human warship, older than nations, had returned. It didn't conquer. It didn't speak. It watched. It saved. And just like that, the legends began again. The stars above Mirren 6 were calm. Blue light from the twin suns washed over the small planet. It was a quiet world full of gentle people, farmers, builders, dreamers. The Mirans had no weapons. They had no armies. They believed in peace, but peace meant nothing to the Zalari. 3 black cruisers moved into orbit. Their hulls gleamed like polished knives. From their bellies came shuttles filled with soldiers. Orders were clear. Take the resources, take the people, leave no resistance. High above, hidden in a pocket of warped space, the resolute Horizon Watch. Commander Cole stood at the viewing deck. His hands were behind his back, his eyes locked. On the planet below, they're moving in, Brooks said. Multiple troop transports. Civilians are already running. No response from the Zalari, said Monroe. They're ignoring the warnings. Cole gave a nod. Drop cloak. Enter low orbit. Outside space shimmered. The hidden ship blinked into view, black and massive like a shadow that didn't belong. Below, Zalari sensors went wild. Alarms screamed. One officer yelled into his comms. It's the Ghost. The human warship. The Zalari commander, cold and sure, scoffed. Fire everything. Bring it down. Cannons turned. Missiles launched. The resolute Horizon didn't move. Its shields flared once, then went quiet. Not a scratch. Cole sat in the command chair. His voice was calm. Begin precision strike. Focus only on weapons. From the ship's sides, long silver lances extended. They glowed, hummed, then fired beams of light so bright they burned holes in space. The Zalari cruisers didn't explode. They fell. Silent. Systems shut down. Lights dimmed. One by one, they drifted, harmless. The shuttles trying to escape froze mid-flight. Tractor fields held them gently, pulling them to the ground without harm. On the surface, the Mirans stood in fields, staring at the sky. Children pointed. Elders wept. They had heard the stories, passed down from a time before. The day the sky opened and a shadow came to save. Back on the bridge, Cole looked at the aftermath. Damage? He asked. None, said Monroe. Enemy losses? Minimal. Weapons only. No life support hits. Cole leaned forward. Broadcast the signal. Let them hear it. A simple message was sent to every ship, every planet, every listening ear in that sector. Humanity has returned. We asked for peace. You gave us silence. We give you mercy. This time, on Zalari Prime, the footage played before the High Council. The images were real. The resolute Horizon, glowing like a star, surrounded by broken cruisers. No deaths, no destruction, just power. Silent, controlled, terrifying power. First Marshal Varric stood slowly. The room was quiet now. What do we do? A voice asked. We find out how many of those ships still exist, Varric said. In the dark corners of space, the legend spread. A ship from the old days, a protector of balance, had made its first move, and it had not come to destroy the halls of the Zalari Prime. Citadel were no longer filled with laughter. Gone were the confident steps, the proud voices, the air of untouchable strength. Now every corridor felt colder, shadows seemed longer. Conversations stopped when doors opened. Eyes watched, always. First Marshal Varric sat at the head of the war chamber, his face pale under the flickering lights. Around the great circular table sat the high command ministers, admirals, intelligence chiefs. None of them spoke first. It was Minister Talek who finally broke the silence. It was just one ship. We still hold the numbers. One ship that crippled 3 cruisers in seconds, growled Admiral Kuro. And not a single life lost. They didn't miss. They chose not to kill. That's the part that scares me, said Intelligence Chief Zirin. He threw a small crystal onto the table. It projected the footage from Miran 6, the resolute Horizon descending like a god. Energy weapons that hummed like thunder. Weapons that didn't just destroy, They stopped time, paralyzed machines, silenced violence. They could have turned those cruisers into dust, Zirin continued. But they didn't. They sent a message, Varek stood slowly. I read every word of their signal, every symbol. It wasn't just a warning. It was a promise. Meanwhile, far from Zalari Prime, the Resolute Horizon moved silently between stars. Inside, the command council met in a smaller chamber designed for strategic planning. The walls held old banners from Earth's long-forgotten alliances, dustless, preserved. Cole stood at the center, surrounded by his closest crew: Lillian Price, Carla Monroe, Jason Brooks, and Dana Lee. We can't stop now, said Brooks, words out. They know we're here, Lillian nodded. And they'll try to silence the story. Or spin it. They can try, said Monroe, crossing her arms. But every witness spreads the truth. The Mirans have started sending messages to other worlds. They're calling us the shadow that saves. Dana tapped a small control and brought up a map of the old Earth Alliance sectors. The Zalari are afraid of what we represent, not just what we can do. They've spent 100 years building an empire on fear. But we just tore that veil. Cole studied the map. We maintain the illusion of many. No one can know this is our only active ship. Brooks raised an eyebrow. How do we do that? Let me show you, Monroe said with a grin. She opened a file called Project Echo. Lines of ancient code filled the room. Simulations played. Dozens of identical ships projected across space, moving as one. Illusions? Asked Lillian. Echoes, Monroe. Confirmed. We can make them believe there's a fleet. And if they think we have a fleet, they won't risk war. Back on Zalari Prime, Zirin received a message on a private channel. He opened it in the shadows of his quarters. It was grainy footage, blurry, taken from a border colony by a hidden drone dot. It showed multiple black shapes moving in formation. Across a dead sector, his eyes widened. There are more? He forwarded the message to Varek, who watched it without blinking. Either they've returned with a hidden fleet, Varek whispered, or they want us to think they have. The High Council was summoned again. Some wanted to strike first. Others urged surrender. Varek offered a third path. Find the truth. In the dark, the Empire's spies began moving. Orders were given. Find the human ship, infiltrate it. Learn how it lives. And if possible, destroy it. It began with a whisper. The Resolute Horizon had taken orbit over an empty moon, hiding its signature deep beneath the rock's magnetic crust. The ship floated in silence, its systems on low power, listening to the stars. No one noticed the new face in the maintenance wing, not at first. She wore the same dark blue uniform as the rest of the civilian support team. Her name on the registry was Elira Voss. Background: technician, minor colony, excellent service record. Smiles in the hallway. Quiet in the mess hall. Helpful, but never too helpful. Carla Monroe, chief engineer, first noticed something was off. Not with Elira directly, it was in the numbers. Fuel reserves dropped 0.2% overnight, Monroe said during her check-in. No leak, no external drain. Just gone, Brooks shrugged. Could be calibration error. I don't do errors, she replied. Commander Cole ordered a full sweep, quiet, controlled, non-invasive. He didn't want panic. Not yet. Elira Voss made her move during scheduled maintenance of the ship's internal reactor regulators. She moved fast, sliding a small device into a control panel. It was no larger than a finger, but it was old Zalari tech designed to mimic an overload, make it look like an accident. She turned to leave. You missed a wire, said a voice behind her. She froze. Carla stood there, holding a wrench. Her eyes were calm, her voice even. We don't cross wires like that in Earthships. That's a Zalari method. I should know. I studied every sabotage file from the border colonies. Elira didn't speak. She ran. She made it halfway. Down the hall before security sealed the doors, Cole watched through the observation screen as Alira sat in the debriefing chamber, wrists bound, eyes cold. She didn't ask for a lawyer. She didn't deny anything. "You have one ship," she said flatly. "You can't win." "We don't need to win," Cole replied. "We need to remind." Under questioning, she revealed her orders. Disable the ship, record interior structure, and transmit its energy signature back to Zalari Prime. But what shook the crew most was her final message. They're going to burn a planet, one with refugees. Dozens of species, a show of power. "Which planet?" Lillian asked. "Carthanis. It has no army, only survivors. If they erase it, they believe your legend dies." Silence followed. Cole stood and faced his crew. "Then we changed the ending." He turned to Dana. "Find me every old protocol on defense from orbit. Carla, prep the cloak. Brooks, battle readiness. Lillian, contact the Carthanis governor. We're leaving now." Outside the ship, the moon's surface cracked open as the Resolute Horizon rose from its hidden perch. Its engines lit the craters below, then faded into dark. A whisper spread once more through the void. The shadow ship was moving. Carthanis had no armies, no fleets, only forests, lakes, and broken people trying to begin again. Refugees had come here from all across the galaxy, species once proud, now scattered. They planted small farms, built homes from fallen metal and wood. In silence, they healed. In silence, they waited. Now, the sky trembled. The Zalari fleet came like a storm. 6 cruisers, 2 dreadnoughts, a swarm of fighters. They didn't broadcast warnings. They didn't ask for surrender. This wasn't conquest. It was an example. In a dark orbit above the system, the Resolute Horizon drifted, cloaked in silence. "They're in position," Brooks said. "Power readings confirm they've armed the gravity core. If they activate it, the planet cracks." "Time the surface impact?" Cole asked. 7 minutes. The bridge was quiet. Cole turned to Monroe. "Project Echo?" "Online." "Ready on your mark." Cole stood, adjusted his collar, and walked to the center console. "Begin." A pulse of energy rippled from the ship, silent and invisible to most sensors. Across the system, shadows appeared. Not one, not 2.12.12 black warships shaped like the Resolute Horizon, appearing from folds in space, flickering like ghosts. The Zalari panicked. "Impossible," one shouted. "They can't have a fleet. They can't. Pull back, reposition, hold formation." Too late. The real Resolute Horizon struck first. A precision beam sliced the lead dreadnought's weapon core. No explosion. Just silence and drifting metal. The Echoes moved next, holograms enhanced by old Earth tech, each firing simulated weapons with blinding precision. The Zalari couldn't tell which ship was real. Their missiles passed through shadows. Their shields flared against phantoms. In the chaos, the Resolute Horizon slipped between enemy lines, cloaked once more. On Carthanis, the people watched the sky burn with light and fear. Then the shadows arrived. A dozen warships floating above their world. Their hulls bore no flag, no name. Only one symbol glowed faintly: Earth. The Zalari fleet broke apart. Some tried to flee. Others fired wildly, hitting their own. The dreadnoughts were disabled one by one. Engines shut down. Systems went black. Then came the voice. Cole spoke through every channel in the system. "You were warned. You ignored peace. You chose fear. This is your lesson." The Zalari flagship tried to run. It never made it. A final beam disabled its core, and it drifted toward the sun. Back aboard the Resolute Horizon, the crew watched the last ship fall silent. "No kills," Monroe confirmed. "Minimal damage," Brooks added. "They won't forget this." Dana nodded. They never were afraid of war. They were afraid of memory. The Echoes faded. One by one, The fake ships blinked out. Only one remained. The stars above Zalari Prime no longer felt distant. They felt heavy. Watching within the Imperial Council Hall, silence ruled. Holograms flickered across the long table, each displaying fragments from the Carthanis incident. Ships vanishing in flashes of light, dreadnoughts falling without damage. A voice echoing through all frequencies like judgment itself. First Marshal Varric stood at the window, his reflection dim in the glass. Behind him, the ministers argued. It was a trick. It had to be. No fleet could move like that. We saw 12 ships, only one fired. The others were ghosts. We can't fight this. We don't even know how many more they have. Varric turned. His voice was tired but firm. We believed ourselves gods. We became blind. And now the old gods have returned. One by one, border worlds disconnected from the Zalari network. Governors went silent. Refugee populations rose in protest. Some soldiers refused orders. Entire colonies began declaring themselves neutral. The empire was cracking, far from the chaos. The resolute horizon hovered quietly in orbit around a neutral moon. On board, the crew stood in the command hall, gathered around a new table, not for war, but for what came after. Ambassador Lillian Price addressed the visitors first. Across the room were representatives from newly freed planet species once conquered, now choosing their own path. The Accord of the Horizon, she said, is not a new empire. It is not a military alliance, it is a promise. To defend the weak, to share knowledge, and to remember what fear once made us forget. The agreement was signed in silence, with nods and quiet tears. Dana Lee stepped forward, holding an ancient data crystal. She placed it on the table. A hologram sparked to life, showing Earth as it once was. Blue oceans, crowded cities, the rise and retreat of the human race. We went into the void not because we were weak, she said, but because we were strong enough to walk away. We left. Warnings, not weapons. But now we return not as rulers, but as guardians of balance. Cole watched from the edge of the room. He wasn't a man of speeches. His voice carried through action. But now, as eyes turned to him, he spoke. We did not save Carthanis to be remembered. We did it because someone had to. This ship, this crew, was built not to lead but to stand where others fall. The Zalari are not defeated, but they are changing. And that, for now, is enough. Outside the viewport, ships moved slowly in orbit. Some were rebuilt from scrap, others were new designs. None were human. But they flew together. A new signal was sent into the stars, a beacon, not a call for war. A call for watchers, because legends do not end. They wait. The resolute horizon sailed through the outer dark, where the stars thinned and the maps ended. Behind it, whispers of peace had begun to grow. Worlds once divided were now speaking to each other. The Zalari fleets, once feared, now patrolled only their own borders. Even silence, it seemed, could heal when a shadow watched from the edge. But the ship had not stopped. Cole stood in the upper deck observatory. A field of debris spun slowly outside, not from war, but age. Ancient satellites drifted like forgotten ghosts. A metal ring spun around a dead world. No lights. No signals. Yet something called them here. We found the source, said Dana Lee, her voice quiet. It predates the Accord. Predates even first contact with the Zalari. She placed a device on the table. A hologram bloomed, an image of a station, buried beneath ice. Human markings. Older than any Earth record. One of the pre-FTL colonies. Dana said, they thought we lost them centuries ago. But it was never lost. Just waiting. Hidden beyond charted space. Cole nodded slowly. Send a probe. Keep shields tight. I want eyes on everything. In the hangar, a small ship launched into the void, engines whispering through silence. What do you think we'll find? Monroe asked. Hope, said Lillian Price, or maybe a reminder that we still don't know everything. As the probe descended, it picked up markings on the surface, old Earth languages, scratched deep into metal. One phrase pulsed beneath the ice. We went far to find peace. If you follow us, protect it. Brooks stared at the words. It's a message. Not for enemies, for us. Cole took a long breath. We've come full circle. The resolute horizon slowed over the old colony site. Its lights dimmed, no weapons hummed, no threats were spoken. It was not a warship today, it was a bridge. And as the stars turned, new ships joined it. From the Accord, from neutral zones, from scattered colonies that once feared each other. They came not to fight, but to listen, to watch, to learn. And so the horizon expanded, not as a line of battle, but as a path forward.